Well, there's been some, low points. When I lost my son, that was a big one. And, everything else seems to pale in comparison.
We all think we know him, the bandana, the calm voice, that easy smile. But listen to this. Willie Nelson didn't just grow old. He wore himself down. Some people slow down with age. They settle. They rest. Willie did the opposite. At an age when most men are sitting quietly, he kept going. Tour after tour, night after night. As if stopping meant something worse. And here's the part that hurts. The music that saved his life might be the very thing that's destroying what's left of it. Because what's happening to Willie right now isn't just sad. It's uncomfortable to watch. It's painful to admit. And the reason he refuses to stop, the real reason, it gets worse. But to understand how it ended like this, we need to go back to where the pain started, long before the fame, long before the legend.
One person can't change the world, but one person carrying a message can change the world.
We're all pretty much the same. And what makes me and you laugh or cry, chances are it'll make everyone else laugh or cry.
Before the fame, before the tours, before anyone knew his name, Willie Nelson was just a kid who'd already been left behind. You see, he wasn't raised in comfort. He wasn't raised with big dreams. He was raised with absence. Born during the Great Depression, Willie's parents were gone almost immediately, just like that. No goodbye, no explanation. So, he and his sister were handed over to their grandparents. Good people, hard lives, a small house, no money, no security. And when you grow up like that, you learn something early. You learn not to expect too much. You learn to keep quiet. You learn to survive. That's when the guitar showed up. Not as a toy, not as a dream, but as a way to fill the silence. Some kids play music for fun. Willie played music so he wouldn't feel alone. By the time he was 7, he was already performing. Small places, loose change, people barely paying attention. But here's the thing. Most people miss. That silence he grew up with, it never left him. Even as a teenager, he couldn't sit still. Couldn't stay in school. Couldn't settle into a normal life. He joined the Air Force. Thought maybe structure would fix him. It didn't. Back problems forced him out early, and suddenly, he was right back where he started. No plan. No direction. No safety net. And that's important because this is where the pattern begins. Every time life slowed down, every time things got quiet, Willie ran toward work, toward movement, toward noise. And right here, long before fame or fortune, you can already see it, the fear of stopping. But that was only the beginning. Because when Willie finally chased music for real, the world didn't welcome him. It pushed him away. And what happened next almost broke him completely. So, Willie finally did it. He packed up what little he had and headed to Nashville. The place where dreams were supposed to come true. He truly believed it. He thought, if they just hear the songs, everything will change. It didn't. Doors didn't open. They slammed. Record executives looked at him and shook their heads. They said his voice was wrong, too flat, too strange, too different. One man even told him, straight to his face, "You write great songs, but you shouldn't sing them." Imagine hearing that. Imagine pouring your soul into music, only to be told you don't belong in your own songs. So Willie did what he always did. He survived. He took whatever work he could find. Cleaning buildings, selling encyclopedias, just trying to eat, just trying to stay afloat. And here's the part that still hurts. During this time, he wrote songs that would become legendary. But he was broke, desperate. So he sold them, cheap. One of the greatest songs ever written, gone for pocket change. You see, when you're hungry, pride disappears. But listen to this. While his career was being rejected, his personal life was falling apart too. Marriages didn't last. Arguments turned ugly. Drinking became normal. Music wasn't just a passion anymore. It was an escape. And the more he was rejected, the harder he pushed himself. No rest. No pause. No balance. This wasn't success yet. This was pressure building. And pressure always explodes. Because Willie was about to make a decision that changed everything. A decision that finally brought him fame. But also opened the door to a much darker life. And trust me, it gets crazier. So here's where everything flipped. After years of rejection, Willie stopped trying to fit in. He stopped cutting his hair, stopped chasing approval, and that's when the world finally noticed him. Willie Nelson went back to Texas, and suddenly, the rules didn't matter anymore. The outlaw movement was born, and Willie wasn't just part of it, he was the face of it. Albums exploded, crowds grew, money finally showed up. From the outside, it looked like he'd won. But you see, winning doesn't always mean healing. The touring never slowed, one city after another, one night after another. You know how that goes. Applause fades, hotel rooms all look the same. And here's the thing. Fame didn't quiet the noise inside him, it made it louder. Drinking became routine. Smoking became constant. Not for fun, but to keep going. Because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant feeling. So he didn't stop. His image said, laid back. But his body was already paying the price. Old injuries flared up. Pain became normal. Exhaustion became a companion. And yet, he smiled through it. Because fans didn't come to see pain. They came to see the legend. And Willie gave them exactly that. But listen closely. When a man spends his whole life running forward, he never learns how to sit still. And Willie had no idea how to sit still. Which is why, when life decided to hit him next, it didn't hit his career. It hit his heart. And what happened after that changed him forever. You know, people think fame prepares you for anything. It doesn't. Nothing prepares a man for losing his child. At the height of his success, when the world saw a legend, Willie Nelson was about to face something no applause could drown out. His son, Billy, was struggling, quietly, behind closed doors. He lived in the shadow of a famous name, and some shadows are heavier than others. Then, on Christmas Day, Billy offed himself, just like that. You see, Christmas is supposed to be about warmth, family, togetherness. Instead, it became the day Willie's world split in two. And this is where everything changed. He didn't scream publicly, he didn't collapse on stage. He did something worse. He kept going. You know how men from that generation are. They don't talk about pain. They work through it. But grief doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It settles in. Friends noticed it first. That spark in his eyes? Gone. The jokes didn't land the same. The smile didn't last as long. And the music got heavier. Every song carried something unspoken. Every lyric felt like it was holding back tears. Willie blamed himself, wondered if he'd been gone too much. If the road had taken something he could never get back, so what did he do? He toured more shows, more nights away, more noise to drown out the silence, because sitting still meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering. And the truth is, that loss never healed. It became a weight he carried everywhere. And just when you'd think life would give him a break, it did the opposite. Because the next blow didn't come quietly, it came publicly, it came brutally, and it nearly destroyed him. So, just when Willie was barely holding himself together, life decided to hit him again. And this time, it wasn't private. It was public. You see, while he was touring nonstop, trusting the wrong people, the money side of his life was falling apart. And then it happened. The IRS came after Willie Nelson for back taxes, a lot of them. We're talking tens of millions. Suddenly, the government was taking everything. Homes, cars, studios, even personal belongings. Imagine that. A man whose songs built American culture, watching his own gold records get seized. This was humiliating. At an age when most people are secure, Willie was nearly broke. You know, for a man who'd already lost so much, this felt like the final insult. The stress was unbearable. Sleepless nights, constant pressure. Doctors warned him to slow down. He didn't. Because slowing down meant thinking. And thinking meant feeling everything at once. So instead of hiding, he did something unbelievable. He released music specifically to pay the IRS. Not for profit, not for pride, just to survive. Fans rallied around him, bought the records, stood by him, and yes, eventually the debt was settled. But listen closely. Money problems don't just disappear. They carve themselves into your body. The stress aged him, drained him, left cracks that never fully healed. And from this moment on, Willie was no longer just fighting life emotionally. He was fighting it physically. Because the years of pressure, grief, and non-stop motion were about to catch up. And what came next was something he could no longer outrun. You know, there comes a point in every man's life when the body finally speaks louder than the mind. For Willie Nelson, that moment came slowly. And then, all at once. Decades on the road, thousands of shows, years of pain ignored. That old back injury from his younger days, it never healed. It got worse. Surgeries followed. More pain, less rest. And then came the breathing problems. You see, years of smoking, years of pushing himself, they started taking real air away from him. Performing wasn't easy anymore. Sometimes it was hard just to breathe. Doctors told him to slow down. Friends begged him to stop. He didn't listen, because stopping scared him. You know how that is. When movement has been your whole life, stillness feels dangerous. Around him, the circle started shrinking. Old friends passed away. Band members were gone. People who understood him disappeared. And suddenly, the noise that once surrounded him was replaced with silence again. The same silence he ran from as a child. So, he stayed on the road, even when his voice cracked, even when his body trembled, even when fans started whispering, "Is he okay?" Some recent performances were hard to watch. Lyrics forgotten, energy fading, not because he didn't care, because he was tired, deep tired. And here's the part that hurts the most. Willie knows his body is failing him, but he keeps going anyway, because in his mind, if he stops moving, everything catches up. And that brings us to the final truth, the reason this story ends the way it does. And trust me, it's beyond sad. So here we are. After all the songs, all the miles, all the applause, Willie Nelson is facing the one thing he never learned how to do. Stop. You know, some people retire and find peace. They sit back, they reflect. Willie doesn't know how. Because when the music stops, the silence comes back. The same silence from childhood. The same silence after loss. The same silence he spent his entire life outrunning. So, he keeps going. Not because he's strong, but because he's afraid. Afraid that if he rests, everything he buried will rise at once. And that's what makes this ending so tragic. Not the age, not the illness, not even the fading voice. It's the fact that the thing that saved him became the thing he can't live without. Willie isn't just performing anymore. He's holding on to purpose, to identity, to life itself. And whether you see that as bravery or heartbreak, one thing is certain. This isn't just the end of a career, it's the cost of a life lived entirely on the road. Let me know what you think. Is Willie a fighter to the very end, or a man who never learned how to rest? Drop a comment. And if stories like this matter to you, subscribe. Because legends deserve to be remembered honestly.